Good afternoon. It is Thursday, February 18th. Will the House please come to order? The devotional this morning will be led by Representative Higley of Lowell.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and good afternoon. I'd like to talk this day a little about inspiration and helping neighbors. We are all inspired by different events and certain individuals in our lives. Phil Boyd, a Guilford dairy farmer, was one of those individuals that inspired me when I was a kid working on the farm. Here is just one of the many stories I have regarding his outlook on life. When hauling his daily load of manure along the Lee Road to the farm fields across town, a car crowded him off the road and he rolled the truck down over the bank. The car must not have realized and didn't stop. When Phil climbed out of the truck, the first thing he saw was a flying squirrel. With the truck rattling a number of trees along the way, I'm sure the squirrel must have been compelled to take flight. Looking the situation over, Phil started up the hill about 3/4 of a mile to the Clark farm, where he met up with John and Rodney. Phil started in with how he had seen a flying squirrel and he can't remember the last time he saw one, and being a nocturnal critter, he was surprised to see one at all, and on and on. Well, Rodney and John, knowing that he liked to talk because he was hard of hearing, finally asked, "What brings you by?" Phil finally said that his truck was over the bank and could they use their crawler dozer to get him back on the road. And of course they did, because that's what neighbors do. So I'd like to now read a poem from the late Gordon Tolman from Hyde Park, who has recited some of his poetry in the past here at the State House, and it's called Helping Neighbors. I remember when I was a kid what neighbors were and what they did. What they were was helpful then, and if you had trouble, they'd pitch right in. In those days, neighbors weren't neglected, no payment asked and none expected. If by chance your house burned down, in no time, neighbors flocked around. Bringing lumber, tools, and smiles, to lend a hand, they'd walk for miles. In a day or so, it seems, the floors and walls and rafters beams. Like magic rose up towards the sky, and pretty soon you were warm and dry. Beneath your own roof, once again, sheltered from the snow and rain, with very little cash expended, and that was what was intended. And you should have seen the food they brought, those neighbors' wives, without a thought. They'd emptied out their pantry shelves with little left for themselves. Food brought with them when they came would put the finest chefs to shame. They'd all pitch in because they knew the day might come they'd need to help too. And they'd never, ever miss a chance when the work was done to hold a dance, to celebrate a job well done and maybe bend the elbow some. When that fiddler felt just right, he'd drag that bow till broad daylight. Then with chores to do and their heads aching from hard cider that they'd partaken, and thank yous ringing all about, they'd look up and head on out, headed home for well-earned rest, knowing that they had done their very best. Yep, I recall when I was a kid, helping neighbors is what we did. Thank you.
Thank you, member. We have a number of bills for introduction today. House Bill 282 is an act relating to enrollment in Medicare supplemental insurance policies, introduced by Representative Durfee of Shaftesbury. Please listen to the first reading of the bill.
H 282, an act relating to enrollment in Medicare supplemental insurance policies.
To the Committee on Healthcare. House Bill 283 is an act relating to bodily autonomy and healthcare decision-making, introduced by Representative Strong of Albany and others. Please listen to the first reading of the bill.
H 283, an act relating to bodily autonomy and healthcare decision-making.
To Human Services. House Bill 284 is an act relating to ending the suspension of state aid for school construction projects, was introduced by Representative Odie of Burlington and others. Please listen to the first reading of the bill.
H 284, an act relating to ending the suspension of state aid for school construction projects.
To Education. House Bill 285 is an act relating to the revised Uniform Arbitration Act, introduced by Representative Christie of Hartford. Please listen to the first reading of the bill.
H 285, an act relating to the revised Uniform Arbitration Act.
To Judiciary. House Bill 286 is an act relating to the authorized professional use of regulated drugs introduced by Representative Cordes of Lincoln. Please listen to the first reading of the bill.
H 286, an act relating to the authorized professional use of regulated drugs.
To Healthcare. House Bill 287 is an act relating to patient financial assistance policies and medical debt protection, introduced by Representative Cordes of Lincoln and others. Please listen to the first reading of the bill.
H 287, an act relating to patient financial assistance policies and medical debt protection.
To Healthcare. House Bill 288 is an act relating to background checks for firearm sales, introduced by Representative Morwicki of Putney. Please listen to the first reading of the bill.
H 288, an act relating to background checks for firearm sales.
To Judiciary. House Bill 289 is an act relating to professions and occupations regulated by the Office of Professional Regulation, introduced by the Committee on Government Operations. Please listen to the first reading of the bill.
H 289, an act relating to professions and occupations regulated by the Office of Professional Regulation.
Now the bill has been read a first time and affecting the revenues of the state is committed to the Committee on Ways and Means pursuant to House Rule 35A. House Bill 290 is an act relating to ski area operators and skiing accident reports, introduced by Representative Rachelson of Burlington. Please listen to the first reading of the bill.
H 290, an act relating to ski area operators and skiing accident reports.
To General Housing and Military Affairs. House Bill 291 is an act relating to dealers in new or used cars or motor trucks, introduced by Representative McCormick of Burlington and Copeland Hansis of Bradford. Please listen to the first reading of the bill.
H 291, an act relating to dealers in new or used cars or motor trucks.
To Transportation. We have a Senate bill for reference today. Senate Bill 42 is an act relating to establishing the Emergency Service Provider Wellness Commission, which was introduced by Senators Campion and Sears. Please listen to the first reading of the bill.
S 42, an act relating to establishing the Emergency Service Provider Wellness Commission.
To the Committee on Health Care. Members, we now have a vacancy to take up. We have a vacancy on the Judicial Nominating Board caused by the resignation of the member from West Rutland, Representative Burdett. In order to fill this vacancy, the chair nominates the member from Northfield, Representative Ghostland. The chair recognizes the member from Putney, Representative McCoy.
Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I move the House fill the vacancy by electing to the Judicial Nominating Board the member from Northfield, Representative Ghostland.
The member from Putney moves that the House elect to the Judicial Nominating Board the member from Northfield, Representative Ghostland. Are you ready for the question? If so, without objection, we will use a show of hands for this vote. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Thank you. You may stop raising your hands. And will the clerk please clear the hands? All those opposed, please raise your hand. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it, and you have elected Representative Ghostland to the Judicial Nominating Board. And that completes our business for today. Are there any announcements? Member from South Burlington, Representative Pugh.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. House Human Services, I would like to see you at 2 p.m. in committee.
Member from Burlington, Representative Hooper.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'd like to remind members that tonight at 6:30, which is a different time after the Senate caucuses, VSEA will have one of its famous no-calorie dinners to talk about staffing. I'd like you to put it in the context of what happened when COVID joined us and Department of Labor found themselves to be unstaffed. Thank you.
Member from Guilford, Representative Coffey.
Madam Speaker, I'd like to remind the body that the Women's Caucus will be meeting this Friday from 12 to 1 o'clock. This week, we will have Chloe Leary from the Winston Prouty Center talking about childcare, and we'll be hearing updates from various members about legislation that's moving with its relationship to our caucus priorities. All are invited, and if you need a link to our meeting, you can email me or Representative Bloomley. Thank you.
Member from Stowe, Representative Sherman.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Just a reminder of the Tourism Caucus meeting tomorrow at 8 a.m. We're going to hear from the events and lodging industry representatives from there. And if you're interested, if you haven't received if you're not on my list and are interested, let me know and I'll send you the Zoom link. Thanks.
Are there any further announcements? The chair has one announcement. This morning, we had our joint assembly to elect the UVM trustees, and just wanted to let you know that if you have not received a ballot yet, to please, by Friday, so if you do not receive a ballot in the mail on Friday, please email the clerk to ensure that we get a ballot to you. Are there any further announcements? Member from Stannard, Representative Triano.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Did I hear right? When we were advised that the ballots should be returned by the 21st of February? 25th?
Yep.
Okay, I stand corrected. Thank you.
Thank you, members, for helping with that question. Member from Northfield, Representative Gosselin.
Just appreciate the body's support in that vote. Thank you. Means a lot to me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any further announcements? Seeing none. Member from Poultney, can you please offer us a motion to adjourn until Friday, February 19th at 9:30 a.m.
Madam Speaker, I make a motion this body stand in adjournment until Friday, February 19th, 2021 at 9:30 a.m.
The member from Poultney moves that we adjourn until Friday, February 19th at 9:30 a.m. Are you ready for the question? If so, without objection, we will use a show of hands for this vote. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Thank you. You may stop raising your hand. And will the clerk please lower hands? All those opposed, please raise your hand. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it, and we stand in adjournment until